Hey Labrishers, welcome back to Cafeteria Labrish. Welcome back to the K Files. So today we'll be talking about the evolution of K Michelle. Over the last few days, I've been doing something that I should have been doing a long time ago. I stopped listening to K Michelle the way everybody listens to K Michelle. I wasn't looking for the biggest hits. I wasn't looking for the love and hip hop clips. I wasn't looking for the drama. I wasn't looking for the most viral moments. I wasn't looking for the personality. I was looking for the artist. I started out saying that I was going to do a playlist. Like, I'm looking for the top 10, my playlist, my top 10 K Michelle songs. And I went in and I listened to song after song after song after song. And I'm trying to create a playlist. So instead of building this playlist, I found an evolution, which is natural, yes. I think that when it comes to K Michelle, a lot of mistakes that people make, we spend so much time talking about personality that we forget to study the musician. With this piece, that's exactly what we're gonna do. First thing I thought about was the K Michelle everyone thinks they know. Here's what I find interesting. Ask 10 people about K Michelle, and before they mention a single song, they'll probably mention reality television, love and hip hop, an argument, a headline, a meme, some celebrity feud. That's not unusual. Reality television has a way of becoming a person's whole identity in the public mind. But here's the question I started asking myself. What happens if we remove all of that? What happens if we strip away the headlines, the blog, the social media debates, and just listen? Not watch. Listen. Music tells you things that interviews don't. Music tells you things that reality television can't. Music tells you who an artist is when no one else is talking. That's where this investigation really started. The second thing I realized is that I was listening for hits. I started listening because I heard growth. So at first I thought it was going to be easy. Everybody knows the records. Can't Raise a Man, VSOP, Not a Little Bit. Those songs deserve their flowers. But then I kept listening and I noticed something. The songs I kept replaying weren't always the biggest songs. Songs like Jack Daniels, Tennessee, Either Way, Seeds, Where the Night Goes. Those songs weren't pulling me because they were popular. They were pulling me because I could hear an artist changing. Changing vocally, changing emotionally, changing creatively. That's a very different conversation from what's your favorite K Michelle song or create a playlist. The better question is, what songs tell you when she was becoming someone new? So then that led me to her becoming. And in her becoming, I came to the country conversation. For years, people, when they heard that, K Michelle wanted to do country music, a lot of people were like, oh, she suddenly want to do country music. How does she go from R&B or pop to country? Like, what is she talking about? People acted like it was a marketing strategy, like it was her chasing a trend. But when I listened to her tell her own story, she talks about growing up in Tennessee, listening to country music, listening to the Judds, learning those songs before most people even knew her name. Then she said something in one of her interviews that completely changed my perspective. She said, I didn't fly here. I grew up here. That's a powerful statement because she's not asking for permission to enter country music. She's arguing that she's never really left it. And this is her seed. This is her origin place. Whether you agree or disagree, that's a much richer conversation than reducing it to, oh, she's trying country now. So as I grew and I went into more of K Michelle, I realized that her voice has always been the evidence. The more I listened, the more I stopped paying attention to genre and I started paying attention to vocals. K Michelle has one of those voices that doesn't just sing a lyric, it carries it. You hear the hurt, the confidence, the exhaustion, the sarcasm, the despair, the desperation, the hope. Some artists have beautiful voices. Some artists have believable voices. There's a difference. A believable voice makes a person listening feel like the one who is singing has actually lived that experience. Whether it was an R&B ballad or a country record, I just came back to the same conclusion. The voice could have never been a problem. This voice could travel anywhere. As you know me, if I'm talking about somebody, I gotta get to the fashions. So into the fashions, Can we talk about her style? While everybody else is debating genres, I'm looking at the entire presentation. The hair, the stage wardrobe, the silhouettes, confidence. To me, her style gives sexy streetwear, couture, high fashion, and southern confidence. It never feels like she's dressing to fit into someone else's lane. It feels like she's dressing to tell you a story of who she is. Branding. Artists who understand branding know that music is about one part of the performance. The image has to tell the same story. What changed my mind from a K. Michelle playlist to the evolution of K. Michelle? After spending all this time with K. Michelle's catalog, I think like many of her fans, and for the artists that I know that I come to love, I don't just appreciate her for one song or one album or one television appearance. I appreciate the willingness to evolve. Every experiment is going to land. Not every song is going to become a classic. That's true for every artist. But I'd rather watch an artist take creative risks than stay in one place to be safe. Especially if you know that it's in you. And the country music is in K. Michelle, from the rooter to the tutor. When I started this investigation, I was documenting a singer. By the time I finished, I realized that I was documenting an artist who's still writing chapters. And honestly, that's the version of K. Michelle that I want to keep exploring. So no, it couldn't have been about a top 10 playlist. It wasn't about revisiting reality television, and it definitely wasn't about nostalgia. This was about slowing down long enough to study the work, to hear the evolution, to recognize the risk, to appreciate the artistry behind the headlines. The more I listened, the less interested I became in the celebrity, and the more interested I became in the musician. That's what the K-Files are for. Not to prove that every song is perfect, not to convince you to become a fan, but to document the artistry, ask better questions, and let the music lead the conversation. Because sometimes the most interesting thing about an artist isn't where they started. It's about where they're brave enough to go next. Before I close this file, I have to give you a breaking news update because this literally happened today. As I was preparing to record this episode, K. Michelle officially announced her first country album, Jesus and Whiskey, is scheduled for release on October 16th. I have to admit, after the last few days that I've been listening to her catalog, hearing the country influences, visiting songs like Jack Daniel, Tennessee, Seas, this announcement is like less of a surprise and more of a confirmation. It confirms what I've been hearing. Country music wasn't a phase. It wasn't a publicity stunt. It wasn't something she decided to do overnight. This has been a part of her artistic journey for years. Now this file changes because we're no longer analyzing where K. Michelle is trying to go. We're officially documenting the rollout of her first country album. And you already know we'll be covering every chapter right here in the K-Files. This case file is officially updated. If you like what you hear, you like what you see, don't be a stranger. Join the tea room. Like, share, subscribe, follow Cafeteria Labrish for more K-Files, K. Michelle updates, K. Michelle said, everything K. Michelle, and Bravo TV, of course, plus commentary, all the other things. Like, share, subscribe, drop a star. Don't forget to hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube so you can get notified when I go live